Mr. Aryan was the most respected teacher in the school. Well-dressed, well-spoken, and admired by all, he walked with pride. He taught science with passion and discipline. His students adored him. His fellow teachers envied him. But he hated one man, the school gardener. Raghu was poor, quiet, and always dirty. His hands were rough, his clothes torn, his face always sweaty. He worked hard, but Aryan saw him as nothing more than a background worker. One rainy morning, the principal made an announcement. The best project in the school's history has been completed. A botanical garden grown entirely from wasteland. Everyone clapped. Aryan thought it was one of his students. Then the principal said something that made Aryan freeze. It was built by someone none of us ever expected. Our humble gardener, Raghu. The whole assembly turned to look at the shocked man in the corner, mud on his boots. A crooked smile on his face. Aryan felt his chest tighten. Because in that moment, he realized. He knew nothing about the man he looked down upon every single day. And this moment would change both their lives forever. Part 1, 2 worlds, 1 school. Aryan had been teaching for over 10 years. He loved rules, order, and intelligence. He wore neatly ironed shirts, carried a leather bag, and walked with a proud air. Students stood when he entered. He demanded excellence and usually got it. Raghu, on the other hand, had been working in the school garden since Aryan joined. He came early, left late. He swept leaves, watered plants, fixed broken pipes, and sometimes helped carry chairs for events. But he rarely spoke. He ate lunch alone under the banyan tree. His tools were old. His slippers were worn. And he never seemed to mind. Aryan barely looked at him. If their paths crossed, Aryan would nod briefly, never speak. To him, Raghu was invisible. Part 2, the unexpected project. One day, the school principal gathered the staff. We have a patch of land behind the labs, completely dead. Full of stones and weeds. I want a botanical garden there. Something students can learn from. Something that inspires. Everyone murmured. The science teachers made a few plans. Aryan was excited. I will design it myself, he said. Let's show these children what true knowledge can build. But weeks passed and Aryan became busy with exams and parent meetings. The garden project slipped from his mind. Until that morning. When the announcement came. A full-grown garden. Plants blooming. Birds nesting. Butterflies fluttering. And a small board at the entrance. Created by Raghu with love and patience. Part 3, the bitter realization. Aryan stood still as students and teachers swarmed the garden. Taking pictures, asking Raghu questions. How did you do it? Where did you get the seeds? Why didn't you tell anyone? Raghu smiled, shyly scratching his neck. I worked a little every evening. I collected fallen seeds. Used compost from the school kitchen. Reused broken pots. It took a year. But I believed it could happen. Aryan felt heat rise in his face. For the first time, he realized he was jealous. How could a man with no education, no degree, no speech, create something that moved hearts more than any science experiment he'd ever shown? Part 4, an unexpected lesson. The next morning, Aryan walked to the garden when no one was around. He wanted to see for himself. The flowers weren't just pretty, they were arranged by season. There were small signs with names, types, and their uses in daily life. He knelt near a marigold and touched the soft petals. It felt real. Alive. A voice behind him spoke. It helps keep insects away. Aryan turned. Raghu stood there, watering the plants. Aryan cleared his throat. You did all this alone? Raghu nodded. Plants speak, sir. You just have to listen. Aryan didn't respond. Then, quietly, he said, would you teach me? Raghu blinked. Me? Teach you? Aryan nodded again. And so began something no one expected. Part 5, learning from the soil. Every evening, after school, Aryan joined Raghu in the garden. He learned how to test the soil using smell, how to use leftover rice water to grow ferns, how to recognize when a plant was lonely. And slowly, he began to change. He no longer walked with his nose in the air. He smiled more. He asked students how they were doing outside of class. He started gardening clubs and encouraged children to get their hands dirty. And Raghu became the most respected man on campus. Part 6: The Storm. One afternoon, a strong storm hit the village. Trees fell. Classrooms flooded. And the botanical garden was destroyed. Aryan rushed there and stood frozen. The plants were broken. Mud everywhere. Months of work gone. He found Raghu in the rain, kneeling beside a broken cactus, trying to fix it with trembling hands. Aryan knelt beside him. "We'll build it again," he said. "Together." Raghu looked at him. His eyes were filled with tears. "I failed." Aryan shook his head. "You taught us everything that matters. You didn't fail." Part 7: A New Beginning. The next week, Aryan organized a fundraiser. He spoke in front of the school. "This garden is not just about plants. It's about belief. It's about seeing worth where others see dirt. It's about learning that even the quietest man can be the loudest teacher." People donated. Tools came in. New seeds arrived. And once again, Raghu and Aryan worked side by side. Epilogue: Roots that never die. Years passed. The garden grew 3 times its size. It became a center of learning across the district. Students from other schools visited. Workshops were held. And at the heart of it all stood 2 men, once strangers, now brothers. One had taught science. The other had taught life.